I don't think he's ever met anybody that's as strong as Alex, and I think that always surprises people, how strong. So if Alex, puts hands on him, he's going to really, ragdoll him around.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Always good to catch up with you, Joe. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, John. Thanks for having me on.
Let's just jump right into what your whole last couple of months have been engulfed in, is preparing for Yair Rodriguez. And it's to the point where you have to obsess over the man, right? Because it's championship level, man, championship fights. How many championship camps has this been? It's been so many. You lose count, right?
True. Oh, I don't know how many, honestly, but we have been studying a lot, and we've actually, like in my technique classes and that, I've just been using all his moves and getting all the boys to try and move, because he does do a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah.
I actually like a lot of the things he does, and yeah, you might be surprised. Volks might be doing some spinning back kicks and stuff.
Spinning back kick counters, right? Off the spinning back kick.
Yeah. Oh, his spinning kicks, he nearly got me in the head the other day, just mucking
Wow.
around. I thought it was, kicking me in the body, and he changed it and he went up to the head, and it nearly knocked me out.
Damn. You mentioned studying him and watching him, and he has evolved throughout the years, but his base is still the same, right? It's the striking. It's very dynamic. What do you see in him?
Well, he's very unorthodox. He does. Uh, there's two parts to him. One part is, he does certain things and he does them really well. And then the other part is when he gets tired or he gets hurt, he becomes very unpredictable and he does things that you're not supposed to do. So, those elbows that come out of nowhere, or the spinning back kick, or he'll throw himself on the ground and try and do an Imanari roll or something. He's just very spontaneous, and it's hard to prepare for anybody like that, because you don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he knows what he's doing.
That also makes him very dangerous too, right? Because that's where it's almost like he gets cornered, but then his reaction to being in danger is making him dangerous even more.
100%, 100%. We've been lucky. We've got Blood Diamonds has helped out in the camp, and he's very much. I mean, a little bit different, but he's tried to adapt his style, but he's just unpredictable. He just does stuff when you're not. When you're supposed to be going left, he turns it into a right. And you don't know how he pulls it off, but he does. And that's sort of similar to what Yair is. Very. You think he's going to turn, but then he lifts, and it's very unpredictable.
What did you think of his fight against Max Holloway? I feel like that fight was the fight that you could study a little bit more, get more out of it, because it was a fight that went to the judges and an even fight.
Yeah, very, very. He stood his ground and he didn't let Max, push him back, which surprised me. And he's a tough man. He took a lot of shots off Max, but he gave plenty back. And he's a lot more technical, and like I said, uh, he's got a pretty good sort of fighting style. His kicks, being Taekwondo, they might not be as powerful as some of the other types of kicks, but if they hit you, they're going to hurt. And he throws them out of so quick and without telegraphing them, and that's what makes them sort of dangerous again.
Yeah, and also, you guys prepared for Islam, a guy that is more of a wrestler that attacks, and Yair, not much of a wrestler at all, right? More of a defensive wrestler and a guy that likes to be on his back. Do you vision those scenarios in this fight where Yair's on his back? Because we see what Volk can do in that ground and pound.
Yeah. But he's very dangerous off his back. He's not going to sit there and take it. He's going, like I said, he's very unorthodox. If he's not throwing elbows, he'll be moving his hips and looking for a submission. So he's actually quite dangerous in the guard, and he'll put himself in the guard, which is unusual these days for people to, like most modern MMA guys don't want to play off the bottom, unless you're a real jiu-jitsu specialist. But he actually does what he does off his back. He does quite well, so he's quite dangerous there. But, once you cop a couple of hits and, some big solid stuff, it's not a very good place to be.
You faced a guy in Brian Ortega who is comfortable off his back, and he put Alex in some very dangerous positions. We talked about it in the past. Where has Alex's jiu-jitsu level gone in this camp, preparing for Yair?
Well, he's constantly evolving. He's got his black belt now. He's the Islam camp really, we did so much defensive wrestling and submissions and stuff like that, we're still continuing it now, but that camp was so centered around that his grappling game, went up like 2 or 3 notches. And having the likes of Craig Jones and Frank Hickman involved, brings his game up, even more, and they'll tell you themselves he's just getting, his grappling is just improving, Don't be surprised if you don't see, him getting a submission finish, I can see it just the way he's moving and he's transitioning, into his submissions is improving, like 200% from what he was, say, 12 months ago.
And you also had Carl Van Roon, the 11-time world champion, in this camp. How long did he stay, and what did he bring? What role did he play?
Yeah, Carl Van Roon's probably out of all the guys that we brought out, he gave probably the most accurate look. He's very fast, very dynamic, hard to read his kicks and when he's kicking. And he sort of brings that same similar style, a little bit different. I think, Carl's obviously a bit bigger man, but, Alex was, shutting him down and not letting him play his game. And again, that's part of our, strategy.
Definitely. And Alex, he's coming off a loss, but was it really a loss in the team's eyes, that Islam fight?
No, I mean, a loss is a loss. You've got to take it on the chin. You can't, hide it. But, I mean, Alex's stocks grew so much more, and, anybody you talk to or anybody that we meet, nobody ever says that he lost. Everybody says that he won that fight. After rewatching it a few times, I think Alex just got it. Look, close fight, it's one of those things. But, we can't change the past, so we just got to move forward,
As a coach, is that the fight that you eventually want? You really want to run that back as a coach?
Look, I'm not looking past Yair at the moment, but once that's done, there's a few fights there to make. But really, it's up to the UFC and what really Alex wants to do. I think Alex wants to get it back, whether he has to have another fight or whatever. Whether they, that because they throw Charles in, but eventually, I think we'll get that fight back. I think it will. It was early on in this year, but the crowd that day, the end of the fight and everything else just let a lot of, like, a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths that Alex really won that, and I think people want to see that fight again,
Oh, definitely people want to see that fight again. And it seems like, I'm just speculating, that the UFC, they're kind of waiting for the outcome of this fight coming up between Alex and Yair, because they haven't booked Islam's next opponent. Could that be a possibility that they're waiting for Alex to defend his title and they could be putting it together?
Possibly. Look, they told us maybe October, but again, look, we've got to get through this one first, and then we'll look at the next one. But I think if Alex does a good showing and puts on a good performance, they're gonna, they're gonna have to sort of toss it between the two. Is it Charles or is it Alex? Charles has got a huge following, and maybe they give it to him. Who knows? I'm just looking at Yair now, and the troubles and the things that he presents for us in this fight.
Yeah, he's a puzzle without a doubt, and you as a coach, I mean, you coached so many, prepare for so many championship fights. Was it fun this one, or was it just like every day, like it's just another camp?
No, any camp that's not a max camp is a good camp, I think. No offense to Max. No, it's just when you have to watch him over and over, it's always exciting to get somebody new and work out a game plan and then work things out with Alex and see what's working and what's not working and what's shutting down and everything. That's really exciting, watching it, slowly build up to where you got a really a decent game plan. You can no matter what goes wrong, you hopefully got an answer for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, at this level, it's a lot of preparation, a lot of game planning. It's not just about going out there and fighting.
No, well, not for us anyway. I brought in so many different strikers from so many different places, and especially earlier on in the camp. And that's what I said. Like Carl was probably one of the guys that we brought in early, and he gave me the best look. And then we brought in a couple of other guys like Bloods and Brenton Mumford, and those guys have played a huge part in it. Again, they're pretty good kickers and. Got that offbeat style, and they've all given him a different look. They're not Yair, but they've all given him that a look in different ways, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely. When you look at Brenton and then you look at Bloods and then you look at Carl, they're all long, taller strikers, right? Like
Yeah.
good, like you said, good kickers. Those are really good training partners to bring in to prepare for Yair.
Yeah, and like I said, that we the first few weeks, when we were doing the technique classes, or I mean, nearly all the way through, the boys were just practicing, his moves, his signature moves, so they could apply it to Alex. They had to change their styles up a bit to sort of mimic his style. Because like I said, he's very dynamic and very hard to mimic because he's just himself, and like you touched on earlier on, he's really grown as a martial artist over the years. Well, after he lost to Frankie Edgar, he really came back a completely different fighter.
Even though he's a completely different fighter, some people believe that Alex could possibly do what Frankie did in that fight, in this fight coming up. You know what I mean? That's something that's a possibility, right?
Oh, 100%. I don't think he's ever met anybody that's as strong as Alex, and I think that always surprises people, how strong. So if Alex, puts hands on him, he's going to really, ragdoll him around. It's just getting in there, because he's just likely to throw a knee or an elbow and everything else. And we've been really working on that clinch game to to avoid any damage trying to come in.
Now I want to move on to the division, right? Last weekend, Ilia Topuria, he defeats
Yep.
Josh Emmett, an incredible fight, a dominant fight. Now that people are already talking about Ilia fighting Volkanovski, you know what I mean? It's like they're not even thinking about there's a fight coming up, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. Again, look, like I always say, I don't look past the person we're fighting next. After, come after, after Sunday here, Saturday in America, then we can sit down and see who's up next. But now we've got one person to beat, and we've got to stay focused on that one person.
Have you watched a lot of Topuria?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the fight on the weekend. He look, he's a powerful striker, but he's very one-dimensional in my eyes. It's very similar to Josh Emmett. They're they're no Yair. If Yair or Max gets hold of these guys, you know. But anyway, I don't want to say too much, and I just want to, look what's ahead. On July 8th.
Max Holloway, Korean Zombie. They're going to headline UFC Singapore, I believe, in August. Your team has prepared for both fighters and faced both fighters. one fighter more than you'd want to. What do you think about this fight coming up?
Oh, look, I think it'd be a fun fight. Um, you know, I think the Korean zombie, he's in his twilight years. I think, he should be fighting guys like Josh Emmett and stuff like that, the older type fighters, because at one stage there when he was young and hungry, he was there, he was a contender, and I hate to see guys that were really good just get, become, fodder for somebody else. But in saying so, I think it's going to be a fun fight. They're both tough. They're both going to go out there and throw them. But I think Max is just going to be too technical and got too much volume on him with striking.
The Korean zombie, he's known for his toughness, right? Exciting fights. And when you have fights like that, you also take a lot of damage. Do you feel like it's catching up to him and this fight might just not be what people feel like it's going to be? You know what I mean?
Well, look, he might come out and surprise us, but, the years are catching up, and he's not. It's not like he has been improving. He's just been, on that same pace, and he's not really. I mean, look, he gave Yair a good run for his money, but that was a few years back. It's a hard one, but like you said, I hate to see these guys, get beaten up and damaged, because they, I don't know what they're chasing, whether they're still chasing the money or they're chasing the fame. I don't know.
Let's dig into some of the prospects on your team, Freestyle MMA. Josh Kuhn, when can we see him back in the cage?
Hopefully soon. I'm just talking to promoters now, and we'll see what. Hopefully, if hopefully maybe Sydney or somebody else is throwing something else at me. Again, at the end of the day, it's going to be Josh who makes that final decision on who he really wants, and I'll just have him, have his back from there.
And so he's ready to go then.
Yeah, well, he came. He was part of the camp. He's been down here for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So he wants to, not only come down as a team member, but just to get his own camp started early and get it in there.
Justin Van Heerden, he's probably one of the best prospects in Australia, probably one of the best prospects in the world at that division. Could we see him on the Sydney card? What's the move for him next?
Look, I'm having talks. I haven't heard anything, but he does deserve to be there. He's from being a journeyman type fighter, he's become a champion. So you can't take that away from the kid. He's put the work in. He does what he's told, and he wants to get better. And the results speak for themselves. He's beaten 2 guys that have beat him before comfortably. And I think that's just, credit to him. And, hopefully he does get, the call up.